What's up, everybody? Welcome back to What They Teach You in High School. Hey, today we are talking about foreign policy, and more specifically, soft power. And in fact, that was my high school nickname, soft power. And soft power can really be boiled down into four major priorities. Those include protecting national security, promoting world peace, empowering economic prosperity, and supporting humanitarian networks. And when you put it like that, yikes. Welcome back to What They Teach You in High School. Hey, so today we're talking about soft power. Soft power really has 5 different strategies that are able to influence those 4 major priorities. So let's take a look at those. The first is diplomacy. And we've talked about diplomacy in prior videos, and I've said that the opposite of diplomacy is war. And therefore diplomacy, or diplomats, are simply negotiating with other countries to keep countries from engaging in military action against one another. And if we're going to talk about diplomacy, there's 2 other keywords that you need to know about. That would be ambassadors and embassies. Ambassadors are the people who function as diplomats in other countries. They're appointed by the president, and we have them spread out all across the world. Additionally, there are embassies, and embassies represent pieces of land in a foreign country that is managed by a home country. The next soft power tool that's used in foreign policy is trade. When countries trade with one another, they're far less likely to engage in military conflict with one another. And since the 1950s, after World War II, the United States has been highly influential in making sure that the world can trade with one another. That's the definition of globalization. And oftentimes trade is negotiated between one country and another, or negotiated between multiple countries. That's what's called a bilateral agreement or a multilateral agreement. And the bilateral agreement and multilateral agreement lead us to our next tool in the soft power toolkit, which is treaties. Oftentimes, countries can establish treaties in a way that allows them to guarantee peace between one another. Once again, countries can agree in a bilateral method, or they can come to an agreement with multiple countries in a multilateral treaty, where an entire group of countries decides they're not going to attack each other, or they're going to trade with one another, or whatever it might be. And oftentimes, these treaties get negotiated in our 4th tool in the soft power toolkit, which are summits. Summits are when heads of state, remember heads of state, that's one of the 7 main functions of the United States president. Heads of state meet at summits to hammer out the details of how one country is going to interact with another country. You might have heard of NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. That's one organization that gathers for common summits. Another organization is the G7, which is a group of 7 countries where the heads of state gather on a yearly basis and negotiate what the world's going to look like. The G7 countries are considered the most powerful countries in the world. Other organizations that the United States is not a part of would be called the BRICS. The BRICS nations include Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. These countries are working to push back from the traditional global powers like those in the G7. The final tool in the toolkit of soft power is aid. This aid can come in multiple forms, but often functions as a way of providing goodwill between 2 countries. Some different forms of aid include humanitarian aid, where aid is literally provided to the citizens of a different nation in order to feed them, in order to clothe them, in order to keep them well. Another form of aid is military aid, where you provide the military resources for one country to protect themselves or to go to war with another country. We've seen that in the news recently. The final form of aid would be security aid. This is when one country's military provides protection for another country who might not have the military resources to protect themselves. And there you have it, folks. There are the 5 different tools of soft power. They include diplomacy, trade, treaties, summits, and aid. Thanks as always for watching What They Teach You in High School. We'll catch you next time. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit that little bell button so you know I'm coming. Hey, comment down below. How's the United States been doing in utilizing your soft power recently? I'd love to hear your comments. If it's good enough, I'll give you a comment back. Thanks as always for watching What They Teach You in High School. We'll see you next time, folks. Peace.